What innocuous sign or symptom did you notice that turned out to be a serious medical issue? I would always have intense stomach pain while eating. At one point it was so bad I lost 40 pounds from just not being able to finish meals. I thought I had some form of eating disorder for years. I always had random cramps, but it didn't seem serious since anytime I went to the ER they told me it's normal for women. Well, I have endometriosis, and all foods from meats, grains, fruits, to even veggies cause inflammation of my endometriosis tissue. I found out by constantly eating wrong and being put on estrogen-based birth control. It has disabled me. Daughter was fatigued. Back pain. Started swelling everywhere. Chronic kidney failure. Diagnosed when they were at 3. Super rare autoimmune disease triggered somehow. Kidney biopsy. Blood transfusions. Total plasma exchange. Then the start of dialysis and super expensive drugs. 5 weeks later, dialysis able to be stopped when kidneys reached 17 function. 4 years and 3 mths later, only this week she had her last dose of meds. Kidneys currently at 81 function and hoping the 26 chance of relapse doesn't happen. My grandfather died of COVID in December 2020. Grandmother had it too but recovered. Mine and Mom were talking about what great shape she's always been in. She even still gets her period a few times a year. No way, she's in her late 80s, what does her doctor say about that? Everyone rolls their eyes at me, but they make her tell her doctor. It's 2 different types of uterine cancer. One hysterectomy later and she's doing much better. A friend's mom had a dark streak under her thumbnail that wouldn't disappear for weeks. She didn't give it any thought. My friend only learned that from a casual conversation with his mom when he went home to visit, and she had had the symptoms for over 2 months by then. As a med student, he was alert and suspected that something wasn't right and insisted on her going to the doctor, and a week after he was told it was melanoma. A good friend had a sore shoulder she assumed she tweaked at teaching one of her dance classes. However, it didn't seem to get better and was really annoying, so her doctor ordered an X-ray. Her shoulder was fine, but the image also picked up a large tumor that was completely unrelated to her shoulder pain. Surgery and chemo went well, and she's now officially been cancer-free for 7 years. X admitted soreness in his leg. He thought it was muscle tension or something, but nothing helped it. Finally ended up in the hospital because the pain escalated. It was a massive blood clot. Turned out he had terrible circulation because a major vein, the lower vena cava, was just missing. He was put on serious blood thinners and presumably remains on them to this day. I was experiencing extreme numbness in my face, hands and feet. My family noticed when I was rubbing my face like someone experiencing withdrawal from cooking. When we went to the doctor, I was on such high dose of medication for my disability it was on the verge of shutting down my kidney. The prescribing doctor lost their license to practice soon after. My cousin was very tired one day. That's it, not nauseous or anything else. They thought it was the flu as she has no other conditions and is very young and healthy. Turns out she had randomly become septic from a minor infection she never noticed. She could have died as bacteria got into her bloodstream and her body started shutting down. Random sharp lower abdominal pain on one side when going to sit on the toilet. Slowly got worse over months. Bam, ovary ready to burst and bleed me out. I had been teaching swim lesson with kids pushing off my stomach same day. Doc told my mom I was lucky. If it had burst I wouldn't have gotten to the hospital in time. Being a lightweight, and noticing a close friend being a significantly lighter weight when you all started drinking at the same time. Hint, it's cause they'd already been drinking, and were drunk, just good at hiding it. Took a long time to realize this. Excessive weight gain during my last pregnancy, with excessive tiredness. They tried to blame it on my age, but I nagged. My thyroid had shut down and had some strange things growing on it. Once I started the thyroid meds the growth went away. After a week of a sore throat and constant cough I realized the OTC drugs weren't helping anymore. Went to urgent care to see if they could give me stronger cough meds. Yeah, it was pneumonia and I almost ended up in the hospital. My granddad had an issue with wetting the bed at night frequently. He tried to hide it but we found out. Good thing we did because it ended up being prostate cancer. We were able to get proper treatment before it got worse. Had a really bad headache and vomiting for a couple of days. Got in to see my doctor. She wanted me to have a CAT scan. Turned out I had a brain hemorrhage. Luckily in the one area that did zero long-lasting damage. Persistent backache turned out to be hypothyroidism. Inability to ride a bike up a hill despite my higher than average level of fitness. Diagnosis: pernicious anemia. I'm too scared to ignore anything anymore. Spacing out a lot. Turns out I was having absence seizures, which were only diagnosed this year after having two tonic-clonic, formerly known as grand mal seizures. I was formally diagnosed with epilepsy this year. Couldn't keep down food every time I ate. Chalked it up to food poisoning until I was in severe pain. Turns out I had gnarly gallstones that started affecting my liver. Even my eyes started to be jaundiced. One night out of the blue I had the worst headache. I was crying because of how bad it hurt, vomiting, and fainted. I had never fainted before, so luckily my parents took me to the ER. I had sepsis. Thought I was having a really dark period. Turns out it wasn't, it was endometriosis shedding. It had attached my ovaries to my bowels. Had to have full hysterectomy. I noticed I didn't have any period cramps. Usually they're terribly painful when I was coming close to my period, and that's how I found out I was pregnant. I had a weird rash and an unexplained bruise that turned out to be leukemia. My roommate who bullied me into seeing a doctor probably saved my life. Not me, but my mom. Unexplained severe upper back and neck pain. It was the beginning of the stroke that killed her earlier this year. Waking up to pee, then drinking 16 ounces of water right after. Diabetes. Went in for a UTI. They asked how long I'd had stage 4 breast cancer.